Well, and that is why I try to check everything in the stream before I just get going. Alright. Give it a. Oops. That was what I was watching earlier. Alright. Okay. And I'm hearing myself, so we're good to go. Alright. Let me get my notes up here. So what we're working on today is going to be, so we're creating this deployment that we're calling the CalSOC, and all this is getting thrown into Amazon AWS. In fact, let me go ahead and pop into Confluence real quick. Okay, so this is the baby version of our network diagram. So what we've got right now, and of course, I think for those who have already been paying attention, we don't have the firewall installed yet. We don't have the load balancer installed yet. And right now, our outbound should be good. So like anything in our operations VPC should be able to get out to the internet through this internet gateway, but our inbound traffic is not quite working. I kind of skipped doing that because I wanted to get nodes deployed in our cluster as quickly as possible, just to have something to test against. One of the things that we know is that we had problems early on because this is a private cluster, and we had to add in these endpoints in order to get it to work. So I had to add all that to the diagram. The other thing is, of course, we've got a cluster that is in two different availability zones, and so right now we've only got one node in the cluster, but eventually we'll set it up so that there's actually two. But because this is a private cluster, when we try to do anything through Kube control, or if we try to deploy any Helm charts, we can't get to the cluster because the DNS record that AWS is providing, the commands. I'm not sure what you call it. I guess the API or whatever that kubectl talks to in order to manipulate the EKS cluster. That DNS record is a private record. So what that basically means is that we need to be doing this from inside the network. So what we'll end up with is using the GitLab, the public GitLab runners to actually deploy the infrastructure and get the infrastructure up and running up to about the point that we're at right now. And then we would use an internal runner that is inside the operations VPC that would exist purely to interface with the EKS environment itself. And now that runner can phone home. It can get back out and talk to GitLab because external communications are open. It can talk to the internet. You just won't be able to talk back in. And luckily, that's actually how GitLab runners work. The runners know where home is, and they constantly reach out and they ask for jobs. So, and I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty confident, based off of what I've seen, that the the jobs that get kicked off in GitLab does not call the runner and tell it has a job available. It posts the job as existing in its API, and the runner instead is actually phoning home and asking if there's any work for it. And once it sees that it's got work, then it registers that task basically with GitLab, and there's a whole process for how the runner picks that job up. But in any case, what we need to do today is create that runner. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the runner in one of the existing subnets. I'm probably just going to pick operations 1 because it's the first one. And then I'm going to deploy an EC2 instance, just probably like the Amazon AMI or something like that. and we'll try the Amazon AMI first. If it doesn't work, we might have to switch to like Ubuntu or RHEL or something like that. And once the instance is up, my plan is to log in directly to it and do all the configuration to get it set up as a runner manually. But there's going to be a couple things I think are going to be good about this, and I just thought of something else too. First of all, creating this EC2 instance is going to be really straightforward. I'm going to be using a community module for that. So like if you are new to TerraGrunt, and I know some of you guys are, then this will be a really good example of how to like find a community module that does what you need it to do, and then use that community module without having to write any additional code to get something deployed. The other thing that we're going to have to troubleshoot is I want to be able to connect to these things, and right now I can do that by specifying a private key that I have, and then set up some temporary routing in order to be able to log in and administrate that system. But that's not really what I want to do. Amazon has something called Session Manager, and Session Manager is really handy because basically what it does is it's like a web-based shell, so you can log in directly that way. Before we do anything, let's update this diagram because I know I'm going to be creating an EC2 instance. So let's just go ahead and add that in here, because we usually, almost always, it's better to operate from a design rather than just making it up as you go. So let's expand this guy down a little bit. The subnet needs to expand a little bit. There we go. And over here, we're going to add more shapes. Let's find AWS 2024. And then what we are looking for is under compute, and it'll be an EC2 instance. There we go. So let's put this guy in here. And we will call him CS Runner 01. There we go. Okay. So now we have Runner 01. He's going to be in this subnet. So we've got a name. We're not going to worry about the IP address. And then we're going to publish. Okay, so our drawing has been updated. So let's go over to Amazon real quick. Alrighty. So first, let's walk through doing this manually. That's the way I often like to do this, just because if there's going to be several things I have to figure out here in order to make this work. All right. So instances. Got an instance out there. We've got all three of our VPCs. So let's go ahead and launch an instance. We're going to call this test runner. We will use the Amazon Linux AMI. I think micro is probably okay for a runner, so we'll call it good. Okay, we'll use our, proceed with that, keep here. Okay, network, we're gonna have to edit this, so it's going to be the operations VPC, and we had decided we were gonna stick it in ops1 here, so that's where it's gonna go. Select existing security group. we're going to use the default group. Let's check advanced details, because I think, yeah. So I created this test SSM role the other day. I don't remember if I got that working or not, but let's try it for right now. And that should be good. All right, let's launch instance. Okay, here we go. So if that worked, what we should be able to do is go to connect here and then connect to session manager, and it work. I don't think this is going to work, but while it's going, let's go ahead and start getting our code put together. So a little bit of 101 on my process for how I do infrastructure as code. So we're going to be doing something, it's kind of an offshoot. It's a specific task. We need to add the CC2 instance as a runner. So that is its own branch. So let's go ahead and create a new branch, add runner. Okay, so now we have a new branch. I'm going to go ahead and edit. I do tend to use the web UI for editing. Everybody's got their own thing. I just like this because it works the same no matter which system I'm on or where I go, and I just don't have to worry about it. So the way my thing is laid out is I basically have like development, because this is the development environment. We'll have prod later on once everything's done. And then I have it split up by APC or VPC and like other major things. So like there's the applications VPC and there's the boundary VPC. Right now, those are the two major VPCs. Then we have network, which is where the transit gateway and routes and all that sort of stuff is added. I meant operations and boundary. And then applications is where eventually we'll be adding in the Docker containers and stuff that we'll be deploying to EKS. So right now, though, operations, this is where that runner is going to go. So we're going to create a new folder under here called runner. Okay. And then, a lot of times I just kind of start off by creating the new file. There's a terragrunt.hcl file. And it's empty, but just kind of get started, I'm going to just copy from over here and paste in, because a lot of the stuff I need is going to be the same. And then I'll just kind of get rid of a lot of this to make it cleaner. There we go. All right, so when I create new modules like this, right at the very top, I want to reference where I'm getting the information for this module. In some cases, if I'm going to be doing a custom module, I'll reference the main like resource or data object that I'm using, and you'll see better what I'm talking about in just a second. But this way, if there's ever any question, like I just know immediately where to go. So in this case, I'm going to look for form registry AWS EC2 module. And you see right here, Terraform AWS modules, EC2 instance. This is probably what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And immediately it is a module. This is the provisioning instructions, which I'll show you what that's for here in a second. And then here is the information on it, like some example usages. And then more importantly, most of the time, are the inputs and the outputs, which this is the stuff that you're going to have to reference all the time. That's why I always copy this and put it in my code, because you will very often need to come back here to find out, oh, I needed, I'm deploying something else and I need to know, I don't know what the IP address is of the thing. So I'm going to come in here and look, where does it say what the IP address is? And, oh, private IP. There, that's what it is. So I can basically consume that as as a dependency in another module, and then reference, whatever I call this dot private IP, and it'll have that private IP in it. You're going to see an example of me doing that, because I'm going to have to reference the operations VPC, and I'm going to need to know the subnet that I'm deploying this into, and the security group, and all that sort of stuff. So let's go back here. All right, so now we've got that. Before we can go too much further, we need to add this as a module. So I have this modules here, and this is where, oh, it looks like I already have it in here. So this is where I save all my modules for easy reference, and this way I can just look right here and I know every module that's being used in my environment. So all these that say like local CI project dir, these are modules that I had to create customized, and then these all that start TFR or whatever, these are modules that I'm using, their community modules. So let me just verify that this EC2 module 570 is the latest up here. Oh, no, we're on .1, so we can go ahead and increment that. I remember this is back when I was originally trying to deploy Security Onion, and that's why this is already here, because I started off doing that as an EC2 module. So in any case, now that I've got that, so this module, normally what I would have done if this hadn't been here is I would just start a new line, I'd call it something, and then I usually just copy, actually just that, and then come over here and copy this whole line, and then it's going to be / question mark version equals, and then I copy the version, and there. And just for formatting, you want to line them up, and that would be basically how to do it. But since it's already there, I don't have to do that. So I'm going to copy this because I'm going to need it over here in the Terragrunt. So right, see here. See, I have this VPC module equals blah, 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 local modules. This is where I'm loading the module I'm going to use. So I'm going to just replace that, and then replace it here, and then replace it here. And what that means is I'm loading as a variable. So I'm now going to have a local.ec2 module, which is equal to the local module vars.locals.ec2 module. So basically it's just an easier, simpler way of writing that. And then down here is my Terraform, where I cite my source. Where is my module coming from? So basically you could replace this variable with this string. That's effectively what I've done. But what that allows me to do is that, like, if I end up creating like 6 or 7 different EC2s using this EC2 module, then at a later date I can come in and increment the version and update all of them at one time, and not have to go through and update them one by one. So that's why we do it that way. All right, so we've got that created. So one of the things that I know right off the bat is that we're going to need some dependencies. So I am going to depend on this VPC over here. So again, rather than writing it, I know that I have that VPC as a dependency for the cluster. So I'm just going to go grab that. Operations VPC. Let's paste that in there. And because I'm lazy, actually, that is literally what I'm going to need. So we'll throw that down there for right now. All right. Now the path is not .. It's just going to be one .. because it's one folder back. Otherwise, everything else is good here. So let's look at how we would normally do this. What's an example? Okay, so this one, EC2 instance, it is, name, instance type, instance key, monitoring, security group, subnet. Okay. All right, this is pretty much what we want. So easy mode on this is actually just to copy all this, and we don't need tags because I've already got tags. So we'll just do this. So down here in inputs, give myself some space. We're going to paste that in. All right. So name, instance type, key name, we don't need. Monitoring, we're not going to enable monitoring. Actually, let's check. I don't want monitoring right now, but I also want to know if this is a default value. Does it default to false? Does it default to true? So the way I would check that is that as an input. So I'm going to come up here to inputs. I'm going to find the monitoring value, the monitoring section, whatever. Here it is. If true, the launch DC2 instance will have detailed monitoring enabled. Default is no. Okay, so we'll just leave it as, actually let's leave it as true, because that way we'll get some extra stuff. So, all right, first thing we need to do is the subnet. All right, so one of the things about TerraGrunt is that it is a typed kind of language. So right up here you can see private subnets is a list of strings. And actually, let me show you an example. Okay, is there a good example here? Yeah, I saw it. Input types. Here we go. Well, that sucks. Variable types. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Okay, yeah. All right. So, so basically, Terraform and therefore TerraGrunt have these different types: string, number, bool, list, set, and map. And when you do like a list, you have to tell it it's a list of what. So like you do list, and then in parentheses string, which would mean it's a list of strings, or list parentheses bool, which would mean it's a list of bools, Boolean values. Let's see if they do an example. Yeah, they don't, but they do show an example right here of exactly what I was about to do. So, you know, what this is, it's a list of multiple subnets, because we know we've got two subnets, right? But the specific here is one subnet. Which subnet do you want to install this in? And, you know, this is actually a list of strings. So we're going to pick the first value in that list with the bracket 0, just like they're doing right here. What I was actually looking for is there, when you declare variables, actually I'll have an example. Let me go down here to my modules. Routes. Yeah, this is probably a good one. So yeah, see here I have several variables. I've declared. The first one is VPC ID. It's a type string. This next one is subnet IDs, and it's a type list string, which means it's a list of strings. So that's effectively what we're doing right now. Is we are going to select the first element in that list of strings, and then over here, VPC security IDs, we're just going to specify this default security ID. So let's do that. Okay. So, and we can get rid of the old stuff here. And like I told you earlier, we've got tags. Now what I'm doing here is I've got tags set up at multiple locations throughout the code. That's up here, you'll see that it's pulling in like this variable tags. I do that so that I can specify just a set of tags that are going to be on everything. And then in addition to that, what I'm doing is I'm merging into that this tergrunt equals path relative to include. And what this is going to end up doing is it's going to create a tag on the resource that says like operation/runner. So if I have any problems with that resource, I can go in and see what the tergrunt tag is, and that tells me exactly where in code it was created from, so I can go directly to the code and fix it. In fact, here's an example. If we go and look at like boundary VPC and then look at tags, you can see the tergrunt tag here is boundary VPC. So if I needed to know if there was a problem here and I needed to fix it, I could come to my code, go to boundary VPC. This is the code that deployed that thing. So if there's any problems, here's where I'm going to change it. So that's what that's for. When you're working, you probably don't need to worry about that right now. That's a little bit more of a, after you have been screwed a few times, you start finding these little efficiencies that make your life easier. It's good to throw in there, but it's nothing you actually need to understand in order to get started on tergrunt. Okay, so the next thing is I need to name it, and you know we picked a name earlier. We called it CS Runner 01, so that's what we're gonna call it here. All right. So that should be pretty much that. There are other things we need to do, but for right now, this would create a runner. So let's go ahead and check that code in. Okay. And there we go. Now, you know, I talk a little bit about pipelines and why I use pipelines. Here's the example. So this job kicked off just because I committed code. And you can see here, it says right here what my commit message was, so I know what it was I did. We'll let this run in the background. But when this is done, it will basically, and the reason development is running as well as development by component, it's because I created a new folder. Basically, I modified the existing folder, so that the creation of a new folder means it needs to check everything to make sure that it's all good. Run it as a holistic deploy, so to speak. All right, so this instance should be up and operational by now. So let's go back. All right. So he's there, he's passed, let's connect. All right. So SSM agent was unable to connect to a systems manager endpoint to register itself with the service. Why? So one of the things I want to look at is, let's go over here and look at endpoints, and there should be, they're over here. Okay. There's an EC2 endpoint, there's an SSM, and there's an SSM messages. So all these endpoints exist. They should be fine. All right. Well, let's look for a document on how to do that. All right. All right. Setting up session manager. I think actually, now that I think about it, I bet I know what the problem is. All right. Enable permissions for session manager actions in a custom IAM role. So Amazon SSM Managed Instance Core. Let's check. Actually, I did not mean to do it that way. There we go. All right. So let's go and check IAM to make sure that that role has what it's supposed to. Okay. Roles. And the role I used was this test SSM role. I can see in here that it has the Amazon SSM Managed Instance Core. Is that the same one it's looking for here? Yeah, it is. Okay. So it's there. Enable permissions for. Oh, do one of the following. Okay. All right, so that part was done. Let me go back here. What's the next thing? Okay. Oh, okay. I bet this is what I'm missing. Okay. Okay. I think this is what I need. All right. Okay, well, I think what we can do, oops, I think I need to create a policy that allows that. Oh, that's messages, so this would be an EC2 policy. But actually, it probably tells me. Huh. Well, I think that's still, maybe not. Let me go back. Oh, it'd be I am, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay. So, so that resource, let's get rid of him. And those ARNs are wrong, but that's okay. I have example ARNs that I can steal. So, actually, it'll be in our pipeline. So we can see that our pipeline ran, and all it did was a plan. So like it pretended like it was going to deploy this thing. And if we look, it was successful. And there should be an ARN in here that I can steal. Oh, actually, it might be hidden. It's probably masked. Yeah, it's masked. Okay. I don't want to go through hacking it all out, so let's go over here. That's what I need. And then let's paste it up here just so I can cut out the bit I need, which is that bit right there. Okay. And then over here, region account ID, region account ID. There we go. All right, I think that was it. All right, what's next? Okay. Oh, yeah, let me go back because that will not work. That needs to be AWS Gov. All right. So where it says AWS here, it needs to be AWS Gov. And I think that's right. Okay. Policy name. Allow SSL user. Okay. So the policy is created. Let me attach it to my user. Add permission. Should be able to. Oh, because I probably have to add it to the group, don't I? Attach policies. Allow SSL user. Attach policies. All right. So now what we have done basically is we created a policy that I think is going to allow SSM access for our user. And we already had a policy that I had created before that tells the other the EC2 instance to allow that session. session manager. And so now let's hit connect and see what happens. Oh, look at that. That was all it was. So let's connect. Okay, so that worked. All right, let's terminate. All right, so what we're gonna do is get rid of the test runner because now we have deployed it. We saw it work. Let's, oh, instance state, terminate, which is what I wanted. All right, so we're good there, and our session manager is now working. So I'll go back in and I'll clean that up and give it good names and stuff later. But for right now, that's good. All right. But one of the things that we know is that when we created our EC2 instance over here, we did not specify an IAM role. That was in the advanced stuff, and that wasn't here. So how do we do that? So let's go back to our module here, and let's just go right at the top. I just passed it. I can see it. IAM instance profile, role name, role path, IAM tags. This is all stuff that it's creating. Let's just go to the top here. All right. The AMI that we're going to use for it, we are going to go ahead and add that. So let me AMI. Oops. It's going to equal. And what we will do is we'll use the same AMI that we used on this instance. So let's just go look that up. AMI. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the name of it as a comment. All right, and then let's look more. Okay. I don't think. No, I don't think that's right. So I guess there's kind of two ways we can do it. We can either specify the IAM role policies that we want to attach. Yeah, right here. Policies attached to the IAM role. So we could specify those, and then it would just create its own IAM role, or we could actually. I kind of like that. I think that's what we should do. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So it'll create its own. It'll create its own role, but that's fine. So we come down here. All right. So the policies we're going to attach. Let's So here's an example where, like, so this is going to be a map of strings, um, and we don't necessarily know, what this format is. There's not really an example here, unless let's look at the examples over here and see. If not, we'll look and see how that works. Tags. Okay. Oh. Nope. Okay. All right. So I am role policies. So we're looking for is this right here. Like, how do we find out what this is supposed to look like? So there's a couple different ways we can do that. One, we can go to the source code, which I think I'll do. The other thing is that we can look for that specific resource. So we could do and so this is kind of it. So what this would do is this would show us like what a single policy would look like to create a policy, but that's not really what we want. We want to attach a policy. So let's instead look at the code. This typically you wouldn't have to do this. This is kind of an edge case because we're wanting to use an input that isn't really well described, and so we're going to look at the code to figure out how to do that. And like I showed you earlier, the variables is kind of a good way to check that. So let's look and see what it says for I am. What was that? I am role policies. Yeah, let's just search for it. There we go. Okay, so all it tells us is that it's policies attached to an IAM role and it's a map string. So that really did not help us much. So let's figure out where it's being used in main and see if that tells us anything. Okay. For key and value in policies, each value role equals, okay. All right, so looks like it is literally going to be just a map of strings. So, because basically the only thing it's pulling out of here is the value. Yeah. All right, so let's do that then. If I go over here and look, roles, come down and look at my test SSM role, this is the policy that I got attached. So all I need to do is, in fact, what I didn't know is if that was an ARN. I bet that's an ARN. So let's use that. And if I'm wrong, we'll come back. All right. So basically, it says attach to this policy. Now, if I'm wrong, what we'll have to do is come back. It might just be like that, but I think it's that. Let me. What does Hypno say? Oh, you know what? Let's go back to where we were because I can show you how to figure that out. Okay. See right here where it says AWS policy attachment. This is a resource. This is something we can look up. So Terraform resource. Actually, let's do this in a all right. So this is an example usage, and this is another example where we want like inputs, right? So if we look at this, it says that the policy, in fact, this already tells us the policy ARN, so obviously it's going to be an ARN. And then the role, blah, blah, blah. But if it just said policy, for instance, and we weren't sure what it was, we could come over here and say, well, this is a variable in this. It's an input to this. So we can come over here and look and see, and it'll say right here, argument reference, policy ARN, it's required, and it is the ARN of the policy you want to apply. So we now know for sure this is the ARN. And all, I know it was a couple different steps, but basically we looked for this module, found it, looked at what the variable was called, came and found that variable being used in main.tf. So this whole TF is actually this whole repository here is the module, the community module that we're calling on. Once we found where the resource was that was being used, we were able to look at the values being used here and figure out that what we actually need is the ARN. And by the way, this is poor documentation. They should have said, wherever it was, oh, I guess I offered it. They should have said right here in the module documentation that this policies was a policy ARNs attached to the IAM role, or ARNs of the policies to be attached to the IAM role. Either way, this was really poorly documented, and it happens because people are people. They screw up just like everybody else does. So, all right. So now we have that, and I think that was the only alibi. I think that was the only thing we need to do is attach that. So let's go ahead and. Now, normally you would commit and you would let the pipeline run to prove that it works and everything and you'd be good. But in this case, I'm pretty confident it's good. So I want to test it. So I'm going to create a new pipeline and I'm going to deploy the thing I just created. So I'm working in the add runner branch. So I'm going to select that. All right. This is going to be development. And what's the subcomponent? So if I go back here, the subcomponent is going to be operations runner. So operations/runner. And what this does is it allows me to deploy, but just targeting that one thing that I created, nothing else. So let's do operations/runner. And I'm going to apply it. I'm going to copy that in case I need it. And then run. And you'll see this time it's only running the quote-unquote development, but it's because I targeted a specific folder that I'm going to run, and it's going to run everything under that folder, so it doesn't call those component CI YAMLs like I've showed a couple times. Like these things are what tells GitLab if anything changes into this folder, run it as a component. But yeah, if you've got coffee, get some coffee. This will take a couple minutes to run. While you do that, I'm going to check my email. It looks like I'm getting charged by Atlassian. So I'll have to figure out. Okay. Let's watch this guy run. So, all right, perfect. We got a failure. That's awesome. So we can talk about troubleshooting failures. So the plan failed. Why did it fail? We come in and look. Okay. Missing it. Okay. All right. So yeah, what this is saying, it would be, it's not insane that folks would miss this. Let's see. So it should be an equals. So basically a map. Let's look at maps real quick. All right, map. So a map, do they not give any good examples of maps? Here we go. Okay, map looks like this. Name equals John, age equals blah, blah, blah. So this is what we need to do. And this is where I messed up. I should have said like policy equals whatever. So, and what we're, in fact, let's use that as an example to go back and look. Okay. So, if we're looking at main here, find everything again. All right. So what this says is for each key and value in the variable, and then what it's saying here is for each value. So basically, the key doesn't really matter. I think it can be really almost anything. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do it like this. We're going to say const, or actually we call it AWS policy equals like that. This should work. And then typo in policy map. And then let's do this again. Oh, and this is a good opportunity to show you a trick. So display bars. Remember, this is all the variables we use when we ran it. So instead of having to type all that out, just copy and pipelines, run, add runner, development, and apply. Let's see if this works. All right. So yeah. Drink coffee. Now, if this works, it'll deploy the EC2. Let's watch it. Just make sure it runs. If this works, it'll deploy that EC2 instance, and it'll attach it to the correct policy. So after it's online, we should be able to go in and hit Session Manager. And if that works, then we've basically done everything we're going to do code-wise to get that working. And at that point, I'll do a merge, and then Terragrant and all that wise, we're done. So we'll call that good. And then we'll go through setting up the EC2 instance so that it can be a runner for GitLab. Okay, great. See, that worked. Let's pop out. And now it's applying. There's a lot of weird stuff like that in Terragrant. For instance, they're using a map of strings there. That doesn't really make sense if you think about it. Really, a list would be more appropriate, because then you could just list out the ARNs for all the policies you wanted to attach. Why it had to be a map, I don't know. But you see a lot of like weird ways. And because there's so many different people contributing to this open source project, you're going to run into situations where I don't know what this error is. But you'll run into a lot of situations where different people have different methods. Because really, a map and a list aren't too dissimilar from each other. So T2 micro doesn't exist. What did I use when I created mine? Instance T3 micro. Oh, okay. Well, let's fix that. Yeah, see, there you go. That's this is the kind of stuff that you have to figure out when you're doing all this, and you have to kind of put up with. And it's real easy to get kind of like overwhelmed with, stuff failing. Just as an example, look at all the crap that failed on me. What was it, 2 days ago when I had a chance to work on this? Just over and over and over and over, it failed. In fact, it quit failing because I switched back to a different branch so I could demo some stuff, and all the things that were successful were really just me working on something totally different. So, you kind of have to get used to things not working. In fact, a lot of times I set it up intentionally to fail, like where I was testing EKS control here. I did this so that I could see what the fail error message was. I wanted to do this Helm validate. So what I wanted to do was see if the EKS control even ran. And it didn't. What I wanted was this. It told me it wasn't installed. So the fact that it failed wasn't really a problem. The failure gave me back the information that I needed to move forward. So, yeah, it's really, really important to do that, or to just be okay with fails and stuff, because they're important. You learn a lot more from a failure than you do a pass. In fact, like I said, a lot of times I set it up intentionally to fail because I need to see the failure so that I know what works or doesn't work and why. And by the way, you can ignore this helm validate. It's there because there was a because we're running it manually. It's checking to redeploy any applications that have changed. I think that might be something I go through and adjust later so that it doesn't happen. But for right now, it's fine. All it's going to do is see that there's nothing to run and then quit out successfully, by the way. But all right, there it goes. Now it's kicking off the apply. So let's watch the apply. Man, I know these videos are crazy exciting too because I can just see like chat blowing up. Remember, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm kidding. I don't care if you thumbs up or subscribe. I should create like, or better yet, get Henry to create me like a thumbs up and subscribe like intro or something for this. That'd be pretty funny. All right, look at that. It said job succeeded, and here's all the things that happen. And you know, I was talking earlier about the outputs. You know, oh, here we go. So outputs. So all these outputs, when you use these community modules, these are all there by default. So any of them that have information are loaded, and all that gets put into your state file, so you can reference it by anything else you run. So like in this case, you know. I can look in here immediately and see, okay, my AMI is this, the ARN, of course it's masked, but the ARN of the EC2 instance is that. Here's the availability zone. All these, if you look at it, AMI, ARN, availability zone, it's basically one for one down this list of things. Like, for instance, private IP address. I can reference this guy by private IP if I want. Yeah, so it's all here and it's all available. Oh, and here's all the tags. So the environment is dev, the name is CS Runner 1. I use Terraform to deploy it. Well, TerraGrunt, but either way it was deployed as infrastructure as code. And the TerraGrunt path is operations runner, so which is exactly what we're talking about. So that should be there. And now if we go over to instances and refresh, we can see that it is there and it's already running. So let's test our connect. Maybe it's just taking time. All right, if this didn't work, then we can go back to our instances and we can apply a role temporarily. It might take it a little bit for all that to work, or actually it might be it might just be that it's taking time to. Oh, you know what? I bet I know what the problem is. Let's add another security group to it, because I bet security. Yeah. Okay. See, there's in the security group, you know, you have all these IP addresses and stuff, but what the security group doesn't allow right now is communication with the endpoints. So we need to add another security group instance. What would be the best way to do this? Nope. Actions, network. Change security groups. There we go. All right. I am going to add this node security group because I know it has those other rules in it. And if we save it, it still might take a little bit to connect, but I bet you that's the problem. And if actually, we'll just go back to security. And what we can see now is there's all these rules down here that allow basically anything from that security group from itself, anything that belongs to itself to talk to itself. And all those rules do exist in the security group. And the important one is 443, which is the one that I believe SSM, Session Manager, needs. So but you know what? Now to think about it, when I added the other one, it didn't need. I attached it to the default. Still, didn't I? Okay, let's walk through a destroy and figure out what the differences are. So, display vars. So we've deployed this thing. The deploy works. All that's good. It's just it's not connected to Session Manager. We don't know quite why yet. So let me do a new pipeline. I'm going to destroy that guy. This time what we're going to do instead is destroy. And this will run up to the point where it's ready to push the destroy, and then it'll stop and want me to manually confirm that. So I'm going to walk away from it and let it do its thing for a little bit while I think. All right, so we have a system here that was working and a system here that's not. So what were the differences? Operations, same subnet, same AMI. Let's try this again. Launch. Actually, let me just call it test runner. It'll be the only one that's running. Okay, all that's good. It's going to be operations. It's going to use the default security group. Oh, I guess maybe that is IAM instance profile. Oh, sure enough. Okay, let's make that change. So for right now, we're going to use the instance that I created, and we're going to comment out these guys. Just because we probably don't need that. Let me go, here's the role. And just to confirm, yeah, that is what I picked. So that is a really weird naming. I think that's why I missed it, because it doesn't sound like the right name. But anyway, let's leave that in there for right now. And actually, that's masked. Let me show you something else. So we have a lot of variables and stuff in here, and account ID is one of them, and it's a mashed ID. So I could, and probably honestly should, be adding that to the string and doing it that way. So let me do that. So let me look at the environment. Okay, I'm going to add account ID in there as well. Now let's not mess with it for right now, because eventually I'm going to create a role instead, and I'll have it done through a role. Yeah, and then I'll just read it in that way. Sorry, I'm getting distracted, but basically what I'm going to do is right now I shouldn't have my account ID in here. That's not a best practice, but this actual ARN is a role that I created, but I created that role manually, and we want as much of this to be as code as possible. So what I'll end up doing is I'll come back later and create a separate role. Like a role for this. In fact, I probably should pull the roles out and move it back. So I may be doing some pretty substantive restructuring later. But anyway, in the meantime, so you can see right here, this destroy hasn't done anything. It's waiting for me to hit play. So I'll hit play and then it'll run. And meanwhile, that was the only stuff that was any different. Let's go ahead and launch this anyway, so we've got an example. So that one's terminated. Let's EC2 dashboard running instances. This one's initializing. The other one has already been destroyed. Or no, never mind. It's still there too. 4 now. Seeing what it's saying here is basically the changes it's going to make are these. It's deleting basically this EC2 instance, and then it's waiting for it to be destroyed, and then it'll be done. And if we go and look over here, we see, well, it's already gone. The one was terminating, so all right. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to look up install GitLab runner. We're going to do that on Linux. So basically the installation instructions are going to be, this is all Debian. I'm not sure what Amazon uses, if it's Debian or whatever the RPM stuff is, RHEL, whatever. We'll find out. All right, so job successful, so that thing's been deleted. Let me just check. We should be able to connect here. Maybe not, because maybe it hasn't launched yet. Okay, so now it's running. Connect. So it has the role. That's what we wanted. Maybe it just takes some time. That one's ready. Maybe I made a mistake earlier. Maybe this one worked, but the other one didn't. So, what's the difference between the two? You know, one thing is the security groups. So let's just add all the security groups to it and see what that does. Because it could be a security group issue. And let's go ahead and reboot it. See if that makes a difference too. Okay. Well, that's doing its thing. I bet earlier when it worked, I was probably on this one and thought it worked, and I was only part way there. So if it doesn't work, that means it's going to be this guy has a different role that has a bunch of other stuff on it. So we may try and apply a different role and see what happens. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So it may be, yeah, I'm sure that at least part of this is a security group issue. So what would be the best way to handle that? You know what? Let's terminate that instance. Let's create another one and see if we can make it work the same way. So launch instance test. Oops. There we go. So we've selected a bunch of different security groups, and then advanced details. I'm going to select that instance profile and then launch instance. Okay. Yep. Okay. So that's what it was. It was a security group issue. So how do I want to solve that? So I could update the default security group so that it has those permissions. I could actually, I think that is what I'll do. Yeah, I think that is what I'll do because basically, so when I created these endpoints that I created for the SSM stuff, VPC endpoints. So the SSM and the SSM messages, when I created these guys, I actually created them by hand, and I should have pointed them at the default security group instead of these other ones. So that's on me. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to need to do is create, do like another endpoint. In fact, now that I think about it, this may get kind of spread out a little bit. Yeah. Let's refactor this a little bit. Okay. Now that the let's say instance. Okay. And new folder. I'll need to create the role, the one that I'm kind of faking right now. And I'll, copy. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's do it this way. I'm going to do txt for right now because I'll come back in and add this later. And then I'll need to do another folder for endpoints. Which actually, even better, I could just do it under the existing endpoints because I've already got a thing set up here to create all the endpoints. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'll do. And this is gonna default security group. Yeah, actually, I am going to. I'm going to make some other changes. So this endpoint right here, basically. I'll go over that in a second. I'm just going to go ahead and make the changes I need to make. So you remember what I was saying earlier about like I need, sometimes I have to look up like outputs and stuff. So like this is perfect. So operations VPC, I'm going to go to the VPC because I actually need a specific output. What I want to know is what is the default security group. So outputs. So I'm looking for default security group ID. Boom. So I will add that to endpoints. All right. Oh, it's already there. Okay. And then what else did I need to do? Do I need to add? No, route tables are all being updated, so that's good. Okay, yeah, actually, never mind. I've got everything I need. So, basically, if we need to look it up, if you came in here on your own and you're trying to figure out how you would make this change, You see here our source is this EKS modules, endpoints module. If we go to our modules down here, EKS endpoints module, here it is. It is endpoints EKS cluster, which actually, now that I think about it, is that appropriately named? Because basically the ones I have now, they're the endpoints that exist in order for the cluster to work. I'm getting ready to add endpoints for SSM, which actually, it's still related to the cluster. It's still something I want the nodes to be able to do. Yeah, I think I'll leave it as that. What I was kind of debating on is just making it endpoints module and then just making it, because technically, actually, yeah, I'm going to leave it like this for now. But eventually, I may make this more generic. Just make it like ops endpoints module, because it's really going to end up being the module for the entire operations VPC. Because and now in retrospect, I'm thinking about this. Endpoints are VPC specific. They're not. They don't really have anything to do with the cluster, other than the ones I originally created were specifically for the cluster. In this case, because I'm also adding a runner, I've got to have the endpoints for SSM. So really, these endpoints are supporting more than just the cluster. But I think I'll self-rationalize it by saying that this runner is intended to support the cluster, so it's good enough. All right, so it says here the path is endpoints EKS cluster, so Terraform modules, endpoints, EKS cluster, main. This is the one that matters. So I need to add a couple endpoints in here. The ones I have currently, EC2, so I'm good there. So I need to add SSM and SSM messages. And also want to check var security group IDs. Okay. So if I look, okay, all right, so it's the default security group. All right, coolio. All right, so, okay, so basically it should be adding anything to that. All right. Let's get those names of those endpoints. All right, so SSM messages. We're going a little bit further than I intended to go today, but this is good. So it is a service interface. We want it in those subnets. And that's security groups. Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right. Let's get the other one. We don't need that. All right. Oops. Okay. So we have added these two new endpoints. We need to make sure we add those to the outputs too, so that they get broadcast. So all of our endpoints have a handful of things that they talk about or that they output. So you'll see here we have ID, secrets manager, or the ID, ARNs, the state, and the interface IDs. So what I want to do is add two more of those batches, and I'm going to change them to I'm going to change them based on this. So SMS messages outputs. So I'll fix that in a second. So it's actually going to be SMS. Oh, and here's a trick. So I want to change, well, actually, I don't want to change all secret managers, so we'll do this by hand. Before each. So, gonna change that, and that. All right. So now let's go back to main and get the other one. EC2 messages. Outputs. We're not going to run this right now because these endpoints already exist, but what this will allow us to do is later, when I redeploy all of this, we'll have a bunch of outputs. There will be SSM messages ID, SSM messages ARN, SM messages state, SM messages network interface IDs, blah, 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 blah. And so basically all this information will be output. So you'll see it as standard out, but more importantly is it gets loaded into the state file. So if I ever needed to address these for some reason, I could do that. And let's see. Oh, that looks good. So let me so that's pretty much a negligible change. And so up here, we've still got our instance. It's going to deploy just like it was earlier, except for this time it's going to use the instance profile instead of the role policies. We'll test that, make sure that works. If it does, we'll call that good. Then what we'll do is we'll come back and we will create the same role over here, and then we'll make that a dependency and we'll replace this with the dependency. And so it just creates the role it needs and then it consumes the role it needs, which is exactly what we want. So let's check and see if that works. So add runner, development, and we can still do operations/runner. Runner, not runner. Apply. Because it's under runner. So runner will include instance and role. It just so happens there's nothing in role to run right now because it's a text file. It only runs these HCL files. So effectively, it'll end up being the exact same thing. Oh, you know what? There is a change. Our dependency is deeper now. So let's go back and stop that. Cancel pipeline. Okay, now it'll work. Apply. All right, let's see if that works. So notionally, we should be able to go services EC2. This is the guy we just created. He works. So let's go back and get rid of him. All right. So here in a little bit, our pipeline will deploy a new runner VM, and that'll pop up, and then we'll test to make sure that we can connect to it. coffee if you got it. Actually, I guess while we're waiting, we could go ahead and update that role, get it going. Okay. So the role, we actually have an example of roles that we created already. So let's pop up here, cluster role. All right. So basically, I'm going to have to create a custom module for this because I don't know. There's not a community module already. So what I can do is just literally copy this guy verbatim, and what I'll end up doing is the path will be different, but the function will effectively be the same. So, alrighty, let's see. So we need to go down here, Terraform modules, endpoints, routes, transit gateway. So I think we'll do this. Yeah, we'll do it here. We'll call it EKS runner role. And then what we can do is come down here and copy these guys. Oh, there's a, oops, that's right, I can't do that because I didn't enable it. All right, so we'll do it the other way. Yeah, it's just good practice to try to keep your naming the same. New file, outputs, TF. That way you kind of have some consistency. In this notes, I can get rid of this because I don't need this anymore. All right, I should have gotten rid of that already. I just didn't catch it. And then README. Oops. And README will stay blank for right now. What we'll do is we'll get the contents for README later. We have that job that builds it for us. But for right now, variables, that's going to be the same. And outputs, that'll all be the same. And then main, this will be what's different. Oops. Main, okay. So IAM role, we're going to leave the, and again, you know, this is here because that's something that I'm going to need to know. And then down here, this is not going to be an assumed role, so we're actually going to do something a little bit different than what we've done before. So we do need to go reference this guy. Resource, IAM role. All right. I don't think it's assume role policy. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's just policy. So, yeah. Okay. Or actually, I think we don't even need the policy. We can just do the managed policy ARNs because we're specifying a policy. Oh, it's depreciated. Okay, never mind. Won't be doing that. Okay, I think what we do is we just create the role. Yeah. We'll create the role and then we will attach the policy to it afterwards, just like we do the others. So, okay. So if we, what would be the easiest way to do that? Well, first of all, let's see if, did we, oh, it failed. All right, let's go find out. Oh, maybe it's because it's looking for the name, and I gave it the ARN. Let's go back and look at that real quick. Okay. IAM instance profile. Well, we'll do what we did earlier. We will trace it down and find out what that value is supposed to be. Okay, so the specific input we're looking for here is IAM instance profile. Okay, so this is an AWS instance resource. So let's go look that resource up, see what all this is. And that is IAM instance profile. Well, if that's the case, we go down here to should say that in here somewhere. Yeah. So I guess what it's just looking for is this. give it a shot, see what happens. I made a lot of changes. All right. Looks like planning that failed, or that passed during the planning. It was during the apply that it failed. So let's go ahead and just run that again manually. And runner. And we'll see if that worked. Meanwhile, back to what we were working on. So, oh yeah, that's right. I was going to look at this role anyway. So, trust relationships. So that. Okay. Main. All right. Okay, so this is going to be an assumable role just like the other one, so it does need to be the same format. Okay. Actually, it's the same. It's literally the same. All right. Okay. And then the next thing we'll need to do is we're only going to attach to one policy, and the specific policy we're going to attach to is going to be permissions. This guy. Change this dude to that. And that should be the only thing that's needed in order for this to work. We basically are going to give it a name. We'll call it all sort of stuff. So the next thing we need to do then is add that as a module in here. So we have EKS runner role. So new group role. All right. Runner. And its location is Terraform modules, EKS runner role. Okay. Copy that. Then we go up here and it will be runner, runner, and runner. And okay. And then the name of it will be CSEKS runner role. All right. So that should be good. Oh, and before we forget, we can go ahead and enable this guy. So basically what we've done is we've gone in and updated the module, our custom module, so that the module creates this EKS runner role. It once that role is created, it will attach this policy to it, which is what we want. That's the only policy it needs. And then the next step is once that's created. Actually, what are the outputs? Let me look. Okay, so perfect. So then the next thing we're going to do is once we've done that, let's go up here for the cluster for an example for the dependency, because we've got the same dependencies up here, or similar dependencies. So we'll take this role right here, and we will add that as a dependency, and it's going to be the runner role. And that will be role. Okay. And then the only thing we're going to need is name, which we will call mock name. And then going forward, this will be a variable. Just like that. All right. And basically what this will do is it'll say, hey, need that role to run, and then take the output from that, and then take that output and, for this instance profile, assuming this all works, use that output as the name. So, all right. But first, we got to see, it looks like this passed, so it clearly ran and deployed. We'll have to destroy it first because we'll want to rebuild the other way. All right. So let's see if that's all we needed in order to be able to connect. All right, got it, connect. Still not connecting. What are we missing? I'll tell you what's kind of weird is I bet if we look at security, yeah, we are still missing, for whatever reason, it is not attaching that stuff to the default deal. Let me think about that. You know what? All right. I think I know how I'm going to fix this. Let me just test real quick to make sure this works. Change security groups. I want it to use the cluster node security group. Save. Oops, I forgot to add. Okay, let's give it a second for that to update and notionally update. Because what I'm thinking is that cluster node security group really has everything we need, and there's going to be other stuff that we need to do in those subnets eventually that this runner probably has to do. So having that node security group and all the permissions it has is probably what we need. So that means that the runner itself, when it deploys, needs to take that cluster as a input, as a dependency, and load that security group. So, let me reboot, because that's what I need to do before. Let's add all the security groups and see if that fixes it. it's using the correct role. So correct role, all security groups. Oh, just needed extra time, I guess. Okay. That's the cluster one. I don't think. I think maybe this. Yes, node shared security group. Yeah, this looks like. Let's test. Okay, security default. All right. Let's reboot. Just make sure those security groups are cleared. Okay. So it may be that. Oh, that security group is okay. Yeah, I did the wrong one. Okay. So let's remove the cluster and let's add the node. Actually, that one should be good. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go back. Security. So that's the security group I need. So I think I'll either need to redeploy the cluster or figure out where I deployed it to make sure I have the right outputs. All right, let's go see if I can figure that out real quick. Oh, in fact, I probably have something that consumed it and would have read the outputs. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Cluster, cluster, cluster. These are the outputs for the cluster, and I want to read them. Okay. O23, is that the one that I'm wanting? No, BF, Bravo F, okay. You know what? Let me do it this way. 4 Bravo F. Okay. So this is going to be cluster primary security group. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. So let me double check. Okay, outputs, cluster, primary security group ID. All right, yeah, that's the security group I want. So I'm gonna go to instance, and let's just put that in there for a second. All right, so I think I had this under add-ons. Yeah. I'm just stealing the input or the dependency as an example. All right. And then security group ID should look like that. And it will be ///EKS /cluster. All right. And then oh, maybe this is So this basically loads the cluster as a dependency, and it says it because it's a dependency. It'll say, okay, the security group IDs I'm going to use here, and I'm going to go check this again real quick. Dependency EKS cluster outputs blah blah blah. Use the primary security group ID, which is the one we just verified works. So I just want to check and see if there's another way to describe that security group. Private IP, don't care. Okay, I've already passed security group, so I don't think there is. I think it wants VPC security group IDs. Yeah, okay. All right, well, that should be that. So now, and let's do a test real quick. Okay, and that worked. And it only has the one security group attached to it, so let's, actually, we don't want to terminate. We want to run a destroy. Development. And this time we're going to specify an instance because we have oops, I'm an idiot. I don't know what I was doing. We're going to specify instance because it's not the only runner that's only thing under the render folder that's active now. So we're going to do that. And that'll take a little bit to run. Oh, let's see what emails I was just getting while we wait. There we go. It's waiting on me. Destroy that guy. Die in a fire. I guess YouTube Analytics doesn't tell me how many people are logged in right now. wonder if when it says participants and it only shows me, is that because I'm the only one that's quote unquote chatted or typed, or is it because I'm the only one watching? I do so enjoy watching myself. Anyway, alright. Destroy, die. Actually, while that's destroying, we can go ahead and run the other one, because we do want to run the roll. So let's, okay, operations / runner / roll. Apply. And when this is done, we should have a new role that will appear in here that's going to be like CS EKS runner role. And then, yeah. So that way we'll know that that worked. Okay. So the instance should be dead now. Okay, good. All right. Now, when the role is created, we'll come back and we'll re-execute and run again to redeploy the instance. This time, of course, it's going to target the role and pick the role up, and that's the one that's going to be applied. So we'll be able to test the role and make sure the role works. Super exciting stuff, I know. It would be running, I probably should have set that up so I could run some, DRM free background music. Because I usually do listen to music while I work, but oh well. We'll get this done. We'll get the EC2 up and stuff, and then we'll call it good. This will end up having been like a couple hours plus of streaming. And then what we'll do next time, I don't know if I'll get around to it this afternoon, but maybe Monday, we'll plan on, actually, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. Monday morning, we'll plan on deploying the EC2 again. In fact, we'll deploy everything again Monday morning. So I'll probably start early, and then the early part of it will just be me doing nothing but deploying the environment, because I'm gonna destroy it this afternoon so it doesn't run through the weekend and bill me. And then what we'll do after that is log in using Session Manager. We'll log into the EC2 instance and get the GitLab stuff installed. By the time we're done, what we'll end up with is an EC2 instance that is connecting back to our public GitLab and declaring itself as a runner and ready to pick up jobs. And then the advantage there will be that when we want to deploy like a Helm chart or something like that, we'll have a runner that's actually inside of our environment that will pick up those jobs and connect directly to the cluster using private IP addressing, which is what we really want. So let's go ahead and deploy the node now and make sure that works. Or the runner, I should say. And I'm just going to do runner this time because the only thing that hasn't deployed is the instance. So anyway, so yeah, so once we do that, we'll be in a situation where in this job for Helm, what we'll do is we'll add a tag so that anything that runs a Helm chart has to have a runner with that same tag, and we'll tag it like CalSoc private or something like that. And that way it only picks up jobs that are related to the Helm stuff, and that will ensure that that's the only jobs it gets is the Helm, and it doesn't try to pick up other jobs that it doesn't need or shouldn't be running anyway. And then it also means that this job will only run if that runner is available. So, like if for some reason that runner isn't available because it's not reachable, the job will just sit there and never be completed, which is what we want. We don't want it trying to execute this job on any other runners. So that would be good. What did I not commit? Mother push bucket. Stop. There we go. Oh, and the other thing we'll do is we'll update our README too while we're here. All right. So let's go ahead and kick that off again. Run. Runner. And solutions. Runner. Apply. All right. While this is running, let's go back to one of these older jobs here and this update docs here. So what I'm going to do, just because it's easier, I'm going to go here to this download. I'm going to download that and then open it up. Okay, here we go. Terraform modules. It would be endpoints is what we changed. So that needs to be updated. Let me get rid of my notes here. Okay. So this is the README folder for the endpoints. So let's copy that and then go to our endpoints over here. So the endpoints needs to be updated because we've added and changed some stuff there. So update that. And then the other thing that we've done is we added this runner role, which now needs to be updated. So yeah, and then update READMEs. Done. All right. So now we've updated the READMEs, and they are correct. It has no impact on our pipeline though, so we're not going to worry about that for right now. But I did want to show you kind of like what that looked like. All right. Okay. Okay, so it's doing the apply, reading in all the dependencies right now. see right there, we just saw it read our runner roll, and it scrolled by as a dependency, so it read it correctly. And that means the role does exist. In fact, if we go over here and look, there we go, EKS runner roll. Last activity, none, because we just did it. Okay, got some errors. What are these errors? All right. Wait, what? Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. So basically, what ended up happening is we changed the endpoints, and the endpoints are like a dependency of a dependency of a dependency. So we tried to call on the cluster, which has a dependency on the endpoints, and because of that, it failed because obviously we added some new endpoints that don't exist right now. So instead of going back through and redeploying everything just so we can test this node, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I think we're in good shape. It should have pretty much everything we need. And what I'm going to do instead is tear down the entire cluster. So I'm just going to go through, walking through the destroys, and just make sure everything destroys correctly, which it always has. Even the stuff we built today has been destroying correctly. So we should be good there. And then once I'm done with that, I'm just going to shut it all down. And then Monday morning, probably early, I'll go ahead and kick the stream off like I did today. But I will, if folks don't join immediately, it's not a big deal because the first like 30 minutes or more of the stream is going to be me just rerunning the deploy to redeploy the entire environment and bring the cluster back online and all that sort of stuff. All the things that, basically I'm going to walk through the deployment beginning to end just to get it all online. And the last thing I'll do is deploy the runner just to make sure it's up and make sure that we can connect to it and use it like we want. And once that's done, this will be up and running, and then we'll move on to actually installing the GitLab runner software and stuff. So cool. All right, I don't know if anyone's actually watching or not, but if you are, thanks. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday. Probably not this afternoon because it's going to take me a while to tear this down. So I'll do all that this afternoon. All right, thank you guys. See you around.